What is going on, Tan and J-Man Show Nation? It's 6:30 on a Monday night on July 10th to be exact. So you know what that means, a brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show streaming live on the ISC Sports Network as well as the ISC Sports Network Twitter page and their YouTube channel. Go give them a follow on Twitter if you haven't already, at ISC Sportsnet, and subscribe to their YouTube channel, and also streaming live on the Tan and J-Man Show Facebook page. So go like our Facebook page if you haven't done so already. With all that said, I'm a little out of breath, so I'm going to bring in my returning co-host, Josh the J-Man Munt.
Good to be back.
Good to have you back, J-Man.
Back. I'm well rested, so the takes will be fire, even more fire than usual.
Hot takes, topics, picks, and more coming out of the J-Man tonight. But we do want to give a thank you to a friend of the show, Aaron Lynch, for filling in once again last week for the J-Man. It was a golf and NBA heavy pod, but I think the people still enjoyed it. And lucky for you, J-Man, you got to miss out on the Ricky Fowler victory talk that I've been waiting for over 4 years to spew.
Yeah, I'm very okay with Aaron Lynch taking the bullet for me on that one.
And you know, I said last week, I don't know if you caught any of the podcasts or not, I said if you being off the podcast or taking a break is what was needed for Ricky Fowler to win, you can take as many breaks as you need to, my friend.
It's going to be the last win for a while, probably.
It might be, but, especially with the dramatic fashion happening, going to take it and enjoy it for a little while. So, but the big question going in tonight is, do you have the birdie or bogey ready for me tonight? Because we are tied, my friend. We are tied.
Anthony Edwards has scored 4,871 career points, which is the fourth most by a player before turning the age of 22 years old in NBA history. Can you name the three guys he trailed?
I think I have one. I don't know about the other two.
Because he just signed a 5-year rookie max deal that could be worth $260 million. It's a lot of money.
Must be nice.
Must be real nice. Yeah.
Thad Moody on Facebook's comments, no more no more off days for you.
More off days? Man. Be working myself to the bone.
But no, that's a good trivia question. That's I'm
a little out of practice. Forgot about the sponsor here. Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Arlington Public House. Arlington Public House has upscale cuisine and cocktails with a casual atmosphere located 703 Main Street in Rochester. It's Wing Day. $2 smoked whole wings and $1 off domestic beers every single Monday. One of these days, I'm going to have to take some time off work. Both of us. Well, I guess you could work and do the show from Arlington Public House.
Yeah, we need to set that up. We can. I'm sure we can do that actually pretty easily. We just got to do it. I like that. We've never done a live remote podcast in the 7 years. I mean, we've done it from different locations. My parents' house, my old house, now virtually, but we've never done it from like a restaurant or anywhere. So.
What greater restaurant to do it at?
Might just have to do that. Since I didn't think we'd have a ton of NBA talk tonight, but my word association segment is NBA related, let's jump right into that. Beautiful. Since you had the birdie or bogey that was NBA related, let's jump right into that. Have you watched any of the NBA Summer League? That was probably a dumb question to ask, but
there's usually no dumb questions, but that's on the list.
I haven't watched much. I did watch I don't even know. Oh, it might have been the Spurs the other night that was on. I caught a little bit.
I did see Wemby's. I didn't see it, but I saw the stat line. He was terrible in his first game. People are calling him a bust, and he goes off for 27 and 12. Yeah,
people are stupid.
He's probably a little nervous. I'm imagining.
People are stupid.
And the Spurs are shutting him down because they don't want another Chet Holmgren situation.
Sure. Sure. Well, and the Britney Spears fan base is coming at Wembley pretty hard there.
And she smacked herself. I don't know if you saw the video, but
I did see the video.
She smacked herself.
I did watch the video. It's It was something. It was something. It's out there. Go check it out on social media if you don't know what we're talking about. So I have a list of NBA Summer League MVPs from over the years. Some of them are bigger names than others, so I'm trying to leave the ones I don't think you have much to say or maybe you haven't even heard of off and trying to get the ones that you've heard of on there. Starting with last year, Keegan Murray.
Oh, really? He had a really good rookie year with upstart Sacramento Kings. They could be around for a while. They're pretty young, good, good shooter, the best Iowa player of our lifetimes, probably. His brother's pretty good too, but Keegan's a little better.
This is kind of it's NBA related, but it just kind of put the light bulb on my head. I saw this earlier today, so I want to quiz you real quick. Who's the only NBA team to not have a playoff win in the last decade?
Oh man, the last decade, not playoff. Charlotte Hornets.
Good guess, but it's the Detroit Pistons.
Really?
Don't have a single playoff win in the last decade.
Man.
Maybe that'll change soon.
I remember you gave me it was like, what team doesn't have a playoff series win forever? And I remember the Hornets were the answer, so I thought maybe.
Yeah, they're the longest without a series win, but they have made the playoffs and at least won one game in the last decade, but not the Pistons. Not the Pistons. Let's see here. What do we got? How about Josh Hart back in 2018?
Oh, man, Nova's finest. He was really good at Villanova, and he's been a pretty good NBA guy, too. Is he a second-round pick or undrafted even?
He was last pick of the first round.
Last pick of the first round. I knew he was pretty late for NBA draft standards, but no, he's been a really good pro. I mean, he was with Memphis, wasn't he? I believe, wasn't he? Well, he's with the Knicks now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
That was a really good Villanova team. Him and Jalen Brunson and Archidiakono and Chris Jenkins.
Let's see here. Lonzo Ball, 2017.
I don't know if he'll ever play again, and it's his daddy's fault, believe it or not. They blame his
I believe it.
Constant knee issues on the Big Baller brand tennis shoes that supposedly were not made very well, and it's his dad's fault. But of course, his dad's never going to own up to that, or probably apologize to him even. But no, my brand's the best.
I'm glad we don't hear from that guy as often as we used to.
Yeah.
We'll go back a year prior to that, 2016, Tyus Jones.
He's turned out to be a pretty good NBA point guard. He was with Memphis too, I believe. Or he has been with Memphis. I don't know where he is.
Yeah, he was with Minnesota when he won the Summer League MVP.
He's an NCAA champion at Duke. That was a really good Duke team as well. Most NCAA champion teams are pretty good, I guess. But Tyus was the person that made it all happen.
How about Giannis Valanciunas, 2013?
He's had a good NBA career. It seems like he's been around forever. Obviously, 10 years now. I think he's only 31. I think he's already
12 years. He was 2011 fifth overall pick.
Pretty sure he's born in 92, and he's been in the NBA for 11 years. But no, he's had a good career, bounced around a little bit with Toronto and Memphis. Seems like all these guys are Memphis guys.
Let's see here. Damian Lillard.
Superstar. Superstar. He probably needs to get out of Portland, and he's asking out. But it'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to actually trade him. Because they don't have to do it. He signed the contract. Guys need to start. If they want out, they shouldn't have signed the contract to begin with. He signed through 2027. I think guys should start honoring the contract more, or teams should stop caving in and trading these guys. It took the Pelicans a while to trade Anthony Davis though after he asked out, so it'll be interesting to see if he's traded by game one.
I'd like to see more teams put their foot down a little bit.
Yeah.
John Wall.
It feels like he's barely played past couple years because of injury. He was one of the better point guards in the NBA early in his career. He was great at Kentucky, obviously, but even had a song written about him. Yeah, it seems like he's kind of veered into irrelevance here recently.
Well, he's been traded a bunch too.
Yeah.
A few more here. Blake Griffin.
Blake, his career's lasted a long time. He was an absolute superstar, one of the best dunkers in the NBA, and then he's kind of transformed his game because he can't rely on athleticism for that long, and now he's kind of a three-point shooter. He's got a little finesse to his game now, and he's a good bench guy. He's bounced around. In fact, I saw something about Zion today that he refuses to even work on like adding like a floater or like a mid-range jumper. He's just wanting to go and dunk on him. And somebody said, well, look at Blake. I mean, he completely changed his game, and he kind of willed a terrible Detroit Pistons team to the playoffs one year. Obviously, they didn't win a game in the playoffs. I learned that today. Yeah, that's kind of a decent comp for Zion. See if he actually pans out or not.
He's got a lot of off-the-court issues going on right now, too. Three more here. Jared Bayless.
He was an Arizona guy, wasn't he?
Yep.
He whooped Illinois one year. Shocker.
I knew. How did I know that was coming?
Yeah. He and Chase Budinger, 2008, I believe, non-con. It was actually a really good game. I think it went to double overtime or something like that. But he was on that Arizona team. It didn't last that long in the NBA, though.
Yeah, he was 11th overall pick by the Blazers in 2008. Nate Robinson.
Short little fella. He's an NBA dunk champ.
Twice,
dunk
I think.
contest champ. He was. I mean, he's known for that, but he was a good basketball player coming off the bench for some of these teams too. Good playoff teams too, including the Bulls.
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, 21st overall pick by the Knicks in 07. So, And lastly, Randy Foye.
Another Nova guy. He was with was he with like Kyle Lowry and those guys back in like 07, 08, or was he a little older?
Well, he was 06 Timberwolves, 7th overall pick.
So he was a little older than Kyle Lowry. He had a decent NBA career, bounced around for a while. Honestly, I remember these guys in college, but when we used to play 2K a bunch, I'm kind of remembering these guys.
Sure, me too. Yeah. A lot of them were bench players, but they were good 2K players, if that makes sense. 6th, 7th man that would come in and kind of tear you up a little bit. So none of them were Danny Granger-esque, but
no. Who was my Chris Middleton was a guy I just couldn't
oh man, yeah. There was a guy. It might have been Terrence Williams on like NBA 2K11. The first week I had it, I would drop like 30 a game with him, and then you know how they update the ratings as the years go on and stuff. Then he was trash. The rest of the year, first week he was like the hidden gem of the game, and then he was not good.
Who was another? Was it Michael Carter Williams? Was either really good or really bad?
Yep.
I think he was really good on those games.
Yep.
At least
he was.
You kind of find a guy where you kind of master their release point, and they're really good. They don't have to be actual good players, but as long as you master their release point, you're pretty good with them.
And then you always had the. Go ahead.
I haven't played 2K in like 5 years. But
I haven't played in a while either. But of course, you always had the guys too, the sharpshooters like Kyle Korvers and Klay Thompsons. You just couldn't leave open Steph Curry's, where they would just kill you, no matter who was playing, who had the controller. So, but that is going to do it for this week's Word Association segment, which is brought to you by Proforma Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print 2 Promo Group has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815. So if you're looking for pins, stress balls, letter openers, fly swatters, chip clips, magnets, whatever for any event, she's got you covered.
You just want to knock out all of our segments here and do it on this day real quick?
Why not?
On this day in 1884, the first day of Test cricket at Old Trafford, Manchester. First Test English versus Australia is washed out.
All right.
Yeah. I got to get into cricket and actually learn the rules. On this day in 1922, who won Wimbledon men's tennis?
No idea. You could give me 1,000 guesses.
Gerald Patterson. You don't know Gerald Patterson?
Nope.
On this day in 1926, U.S. Open men's golf. You might be able to get this one. Who
26?
1926.
Was it Bobby Jones?
It was Bobby Jones. You got her.
That was about the oldest golfer I can remember. So.
On this day in 1929, Pittsburgh Pirates outslugged the Philadelphia Phillies 15-9 at the Baker Bowl. 9 homers were hit, 1 in each inning, which is unique in MLB history. On this day in 1934, it was the second ever All-Star game in baseball. NL pitcher Carl Hubbard struck out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin, all in a row. All Hall of Famers too, including Carl Hubbard. But the American League still won. On this day in a lot of All-Star game. It's one of the worst sports weeks of the year.
Pretty slow.
1964, Jesus Alou was the first San Francisco Giant in 40 years to get 6 hits in a game. I do not remember.
Is that Moises' dad?
Felipe's his dad. His
uncle?
Pretty sure it's his uncle. Pretty sure Felipe's his dad. So.
I wonder if they urinated on their hands too.
Probably. Yeah, he was an odd fella. Good baseball player though.
Sure, whatever worked.
On this day in 1968, U.S. Major League Baseball announces it will split into 2 divisions for 1969, East and West, I assume. In fact, I know it was East and West. I don't know why I said I assume. On this day in 1971, who won the 100th British Open men's golf tournament?
71? 71. Let's go with Jack Nicklaus.
Lee Trevino.
Oh, all right.
A stroke ahead of Liu Lang Huan of Taiwan.
All right.
Who won the British in 1976?
How about Tom Watson?
Your boy Johnny Miller.
Of course. Well, I'm glad I never get him right.
Won his only U.S. Open championship. He won by 6 strokes over Seve Ballesteros and Jack Nicklaus.
You said that was U.S. Open?
British Open.
Okay.
Yeah, his only.
I knew he won a U.S. Open too. So okay.
On this day in 1990, the All-Star Game was played at Wrigley Field. The American League won 2-0. There's not been an All-Star Game since. I think they'll get one here within the next 5 years or so. Can you name the All-Star MVP in 1990? This guy played fairly deep into our lifetime too, and he was pretty old here.
Oh man, pretty old there, fairly deep into our lifetime. So it's not it's not right. Jose Canseco. I know he wasn't old then though.
Julio Franco.
Oh my gosh, I never knew he was All-Star.
He was a good player. People only remember him from being old, but he was good. On this day in not 1900 something, 2001, the All-Star Game was played at Safeco Field in Seattle.
I remember that one.
Where it is tomorrow.
Cal Ripken was MVP. He had a home run in his first at bat of the game. Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember. Yeah, that was that one, and then the tie in Milwaukee are the 2 All-Star games I remember the most.
Yeah. The All-Star Game, I was looking at the lineups today, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but the star power is missing like it used to have for sure.
Well, I feel like the home run derby, Aaron Lynch and I were talking about it. I think we were talking about it last week. Like, we'll watch it tonight if we can't find anything else on that we want to watch, but it's not like appointment television that it used to be when I was younger. Like I'm like, I gotta watch the home run derby.
And a lot of that has to probably do with us getting older too. But
that's true.
The format is so much better now than it used to be too.
That's true too.
You wish they had that format back in the day. But yeah, the super it's kind of like LeBron never doing the dunk contest, where that would have never happened back in the day. He would have been in it a long time ago.
Right.
On this day in 2022, who won Wimbledon men's tennis?
Djokovic.
It was Djokovic. I'll give you one more here real quick. Who won in 2016 Wimbledon men's tennis?
Federer.
Andy Murray.
Andy Murray. He honestly came to my mind, but I thought it was Federer and Nadal. I can only name you four tennis players. The four were just. I mean Roddick, but Roddick never really won much. He was just the best American. That was the thing. He was the best American, but he was getting squashed by Federer and Nadal. And
the Americans haven't had a real good men's golfer in a minute.
Tennis player
in a minute.
They've had a lot of good men's golfers, but tennis players, they have since Sampras and Agassi. Nobody real strong. Yep. But that'll do it for this week's On This Day segment, which is brought to you by, like it is every week, Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, and their pieces are a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. You can see some of their recently completed projects by visiting them at Mooney Woodcrafts on Instagram and by searching Mooney Woodcrafts on Facebook. And if you let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you, you get 15% off your first sign order. So get those sign orders in. Thad does a great work. You won't regret it.
Baseball?
Yep, let's talk some baseball. We're at the halfway point. All-Star game.
Yeah, home run derby tonight, All-Star game tomorrow, trade deadline coming up here in a few weeks. So some interesting times. We're hitting to the stretch run already, which is crazy. But attendance is up, so Manfred's rules are working.
He got booed out of the building the other night at the draft.
He was mad, too. He was mad. Percentage of 9-inning games this year that have lasted 3 or more hours, only 9%. As opposed to last year where that was at 57%. 2021, 67%. So they have dropped that by almost 60% over 2 years, which is just, it's great to see. It's by far the lowest number this century. I only have data back to 2002, but 2003 was the lowest. 24% of games went 3 or more hours. We're at 9% now. So fans are liking it. I'll be in attendance for my first pitch clock game on Saturday when the Cubs face the Red Sox. So it'll be interesting to see if I feel like I got my money's worth. Of course, I didn't pay for the tickets, but so if my mother-in-law got her money's worth.
There you go.
But yeah, it's I'm loving the pace, absolutely loving it. So no complaints from me as much as I like to complain.
And I was gonna say you complained about a lot of the rule changes in the off season, so it's nice to hear you kind of have to eat your words a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I hated the pitch clock idea. I thought it was so stupid. But in spring training, you saw players complaining about it, and then getting pitch clock violations and all that. And the pitch clock violations are happening, but they're so few and far between. In fact, Kyle Hendricks yesterday got one during his last warm-up toss. He didn't throw his last warm-up toss in the appropriate amount of time, I guess, and they gave him a pitch clock violation, and he got down 1-0, which already ticked David Ross off, and then the guy missed a few pitches early, and 5 pitches into the game, David Ross gets kicked out. And I'm paraphrasing here, taking out the expletives, but he goes.
Thank you.
Did you see the video at all? John Boy put it out.
I knew he got kicked out, but I didn't see it.
He goes, of course, taking the expletives out.
Blank.
You got one game until the break, and you're already this bad. And Paul O'Neill on the S Network said that was the best line he's ever heard. So, Yeah. So, but the Cubs haven't really been hurt by it. Not many teams have. You haven't seen one in the ninth inning or anything to lose a game yet. It's probably going to happen eventually.
It happened in the playoffs. Watch.
Yeah, it'll be like a World Series walk off, and it'll be under a complete microscope. But yeah, no complaints so far. As far as teams go, Cubs are 7 games behind the Cincinnati Reds, which is just killing me. Just killing me to even say that. But they're still in it. Their schedule gets pretty easy in the second half. Of course, they face the Brewers and Reds quite a bit, which will either help or hurt. But you'd rather have those head-to-head games so you can make up ground quicker. But they play a bunch of last place teams like the Red Sox this weekend, who are good. I mean, they're in last place, but they're good. They're 5 games over 500. They get to play the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, the White Sox, the Colorado Rockies a couple times, Cardinals. They're in last place. They get to face the Nationals again. So their schedule gets pretty light. So they really need to come out hot because I do not think they should be selling at the trade deadline, even if they're way out of it at the deadline. I don't think they should sell because they don't have that much to sell for one. And if they do, it'll just set them back another year or two. Do maybe a soft buy where they go and maybe get a controllable players that are close to the big leagues or even big leaguers that can help them in the future. But as of right now, they're still kind of in it. A lot of season left, of course. But it was really a huge week for them, going on the road to Milwaukee and then on the road to the Yankees and winning 4 of 7. That was a pretty good week just to kind of stay afloat there. But they're pitching well. Only 6 pitchers have gone 7 2/3 this inning and allowed 1 hit or less, and 4 of those pitchers are on the Cubs. Drew Smyly, Jameson Taillon, who's been terrible, completely shut down the Yankees on Friday. Kyle Hendricks took a no-hitter into the 8th against the Giants, and Marcus Stroman against the Tampa Bay Rays about a month ago. Yeah, they're hanging in. Their starting pitcher in the ERA. Their starting pitcher ERA in the first half is 8th in baseball, which is pretty good. And I think the Reds are good. Don't get me wrong. I think Elly De La Cruz is one of the top 3 most exciting players in all of baseball, along with Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna Jr. The reason, and this could change because, again, the trade deadline's coming up, but the reason I have a hard time truly buying into the Reds is they have the 3rd worst starter ERA in baseball at 5.69. The only starter ERAs worse are the Oakland A's and the Colorado Rockies, who have 2 of the 3 worst records in all of baseball. So, again, that could change, but they have Nick Lodolo, who's hurt. I believe Hunter Green's hurt as well. They did bring up Andrew Abbott, who's been sensational in his first 5 or 6 starts in the big leagues. Of course, they're leading the division, so they should absolutely be buying at the trade deadline. I think they'll try everything in their power to pick up probably 2 starters just to kind of steady him a little bit. But elsewhere around the sport that is baseball, Dodgers and Diamondbacks are now tied in the NL West. Giants just behind them 2.5 games. Very disappointing. San Diego Padres 8.5 games out, and as I said, the Rockies.
It's because we both picked them to win it all. That's why.
But I don't get it. Manny Machado's having a bad year by his standards. Same as Andrew Bogarts. Juan Soto's been great. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Snell's been great on the mound.
Snell's been great. Yeah, it's been really weird. Darvish is not having a good year for him, but it's been really strange as to why they are not.
I wonder if it's sometimes, in sports, when we see these teams get tons of talent on paper, it doesn't mesh always in the locker room or the clubhouse. And
yeah,
we haven't heard of anything, but
yeah, this is off topic, but some breaking news. Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. Yep, Pat Fitzgerald has been fired by Northwestern.
Well, I was going to ask after we talked baseball if we wanted to cover that or not, but now we will. So
yeah,
all right.
After baseball, we will cover that. I didn't see a scenario where Fitzgerald was.
I didn't either. I just thought maybe we would let it play out a little bit and talk about next week, because by next week I didn't think he'd have a job, but since he is fired and it's breaking news during the podcast, we will talk about it. So.
Back to baseball somehow. The Atlanta Braves, best record in baseball now, believe it or not. 60-29. They are the odds-on favorite to win it all. I mean, they've got the power, they got the pitching, they got the speed. Ronald Acuna Jr., who was my MVP, who's been my MVP pick like the past 3 years, is probably the guy that's going to win it this year. Looking at his numbers, hitting 331, 21 homers, 41 steals already. 408 on base, 582 slugging. He's been the best player in baseball and the best team in baseball. So unless he gets hurt or has a terrible second half, he's probably going to be the MVP. But then you have Matt Olson, who's, I believe, leading the National League in homers, if not the majors in homers. Ozzie Albies has 22 homers. Marcelo Zuna, who's a scumbag, he's having a pretty good year. Austin Riley's having a good year. Sean Murphy's having a great year behind the plate for them. So... And then you look at their pitching. Bryce Elder, ERA under 3. Spencer Strider, one of the best pitchers in baseball. The old man, Charlie Morton's been a fantastic so far this year. Bullpen, it has some question marks, but who doesn't have question marks in the bullpen?
Olsen's second in the league behind Ohtani in home runs.
Okay, duh. Of course, Ohtani's ahead of him. In the NL, anyway.
Yes.
Leading. But number one ERA in all of baseball, or in the National League. They have the best batting average, best on-base percentage, best slugging percentage, most home runs. They're 7th in steals. This is a loaded team that it's World Series or bust. I don't think they'll be happy if they don't win the World Series. But then behind them, they're 8.5 games out, but they are but they have the second best record in the National League is the Miami Marlins, believe it or not. Their pitching's great. They have Louis Arise, who's flirting with 400, still hitting 383. Jorge Soler's provided them with power. They need some offensive help. They're 12th in runs. And that's mainly because they're 12th in home runs in the National League. They are second in batting average, so they make contact, but their pitching's been solid so far, and that's even with NL Cy Young winner last year, Sandy Alcantara, having a bad year so far. So you expect him to be better. But, yeah, I kind of like with you following, Denver sports because you're a Broncos fan. You kind of jump on the Rockies bandwagon. You kind of jumped on the Nuggets a little bit.
I think anybody is welcome to jump on the Rockies bandwagon.
I've kind of jumped on the Heat bandwagon. I've kind of jumped on the Marlins bandwagon a little bit. No, I'm not going to root for the Marlins, but
sure,
but like if anyone's going to go to the World Series in the National League, I wouldn't mind it being the Marlins. Yeah. But in the American League, Tampa Bay's still pacing the AL East. Only 2 games up on Baltimore.
They lost 7 in a row at one point in the last 2 weeks.
Tampa Bay did? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they were on a 7-game losing streak just last week. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Right behind them are the Orioles.
Nobody behind it took advantage of it. That was the thing, though. Nobody behind it really took advantage.
The Orioles kind of did. Only 2 games up and 19 games over 500. But the Yankees didn't. Blue Jays haven't yet, if they're going to at all. Adley Rutschman's one of the best catchers in baseball. He's in the home run. This is the problem with the home run derby, though. There's not that star power as we talked about.
No.
Adley Rutschman's in it. He has 12 homers this year. He's slugging 423. He might put on an absolute show during batting practice, and that might be why he's in. But there's just not that star power. I mean, Pete Alonso, if he wins, here's a trivia question. If Pete Alonso wins tonight, it'll be the 3rd time he's won. Only one other player has won 3 times.
It was my birdie or bogey question last week. Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, shows that I watched the show.
and Aaron Lynch got it right. So
okay.
Yep.
Well,
that's all right. Earlier you said you didn't listen to it, so it's all right. It's all
right. I watched the first part of it where you congratulate Megan and I, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But I almost had that as my birdie bogey this week, and I'm really glad I switched it up last second.
I would have played it dumb too. Oh man, I'm thinking.
But yeah, Rutschman's in it. Pete Alonso's in it. We have Luis Robert.
He's the 1 seed, right?
Yeah, he's 2nd in the American League in homers. He's the
only.
He's
26. Yep.
White Sox player worth watching. Adolis Garcia's 4 seed. He has a ton of power down in Texas. Randy Arozarena, they say, puts on an absolute show for Tampa Bay. Julio Rodriguez, who was great last year in the Home Run Derby for the Mariners, he'll be the crowd favorite. And then there is some star power with Mookie Betts and then Vlad Guerrero Jr. So it's but you don't have those personalities like you did with Griffey, Sosa, McGuire, Bonds. That just
never will again. I don't think.
Yeah, you really don't. And unless Shohei Ohtani is in it, which I believe he's been in it before.
He has been in it before, yeah.
But yeah, and then
do you have a pick? Do you have a pick for it tonight?
This will be the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week. I don't know why, but I'm feeling Randy Arozarena from Tampa Bay. He's the 5 seed. I think the winner will come out of that Adolis Garcia and a Randy Arozarena matchup is my guess. So J-Man's Book It prediction of the week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watching for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers, comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. Email us travis.watching@infb.com. Everybody in the AL East is 5 games over 500 at least, which is absurd. Yankees cannot hit without Aaron Judge. They have an on-base percentage below 300 since Judge has been out. And it got their hitting coach fired with them hiring the mayor, Sean Casey, from MLB Network Studios to come teach him hitting.
This is the first coach in the Brian Cashman era to be fired during the season.
Wow. Cashman's been there since the 90s. So,
yes, yep.
I wonder if Cashman's feeling his seat getting a little warm.
I'm sure I'm one of many Yankee fans that wouldn't mind him leaving. Just change. It just, I don't know, it's stale. And I'll be honest, Steinbrenner was on the S Network on the Michael K show about 2 weeks or so ago, and he pretty much stated if the Yankees get to make the playoffs and are 90% healthy or 90% of their opening day roster is healthy and they get ousted early, there's going to be some talks had. But I didn't like him saying that because it left some wiggle room there to where, if they make the playoffs but they're injured and we get ousted, probably no changes. Like, I wish he wouldn't have said that. But.
Yeah, he shouldn't have said anything because that puts him in a corner if things it just puts him in a corner.
Yeah. Yep.
You just look up and down their lineup. No one really scares you. Stanton's kind of past his prime. Rizzo's been horrendous since about May 15th. Josh Donaldson has 14 hits this year. 10 of them are homers. I've never seen a player booed that bad. He did hit one on.
Joey Gallo was booed pretty bad last year as a Yankee.
Yeah, they didn't like Gallo at all. Harrison Bader sucks.
Volpe's struggling.
Terrible.
Yeah.
DJ LeMahieu's been awful.
Yeah, he's over. He's a little washed.
Yeah, they have all these old guys that are trying to carry the team without their superstar Aaron Judge, and it's not going well. They have really good pitching though, so
they do.
That'll keep them in it.
Garrett Cole's starting tonight, the All-Star games.
Is he starting? Okay,
he is starting, or tomorrow night. Excuse me.
Yeah. But then we shift to the worst division in baseball, which is the AL Central, with the Cleveland Guardians winning the Central at 45-45. White Sox are 16 games under 500, but they're only 8 games out.
Yeah.
I heard their GM say today, everyone's available except 4 players. So everyone except the good players are available via trade. Royals should just disband. They're 40 games under 500. They are right there. They're as bad. They're not worse, but they are as bad as the Oakland Athletics. Then you got the AL West. Texas Rangers are still winning that division, although they haven't played that great here the past few weeks. And Houston's right on their tail. But
real quick before we move on, who's your first half MVP? I think I know that answer. But who's your MVP? Who's your Cy Young? Who's your most surprising team? And who's your biggest letdown so far?
So my MVP in the National League's Ronald Acuna Jr. MVP in the American League's probably Corey Seager. He missed.
Okay, that surprised me. I thought you'd say Shohei Ohtani.
It's gonna be Shohei Ohtani. I forgot about him. My apologies.
32 home runs.
Who's putting on one of the greatest shows in the
103 hits, 32 home runs, 71 RBIs.
He's on pace to break Judge's
302
that last year, and I for some reason chose Corey Seager. I am Very sorry to.
It's because the Angels are never on TV, or if they are for Central and Eastern time, it's really late at
I
night. Nobody
feel
watches.
really dumb. It's Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
But yeah, and he's not the Cy Young, but he's probably going to win the Cy Young too.
He's incredible.
Cy Young in the National League, man. Justin Steele's leading the ERA. At least he was. It's probably going to be like Spencer Strider, Zach Gallen. He's starting the All-Star game. I'm going to choose Zach Gallen for the National League, and I'm probably going to choose Garrett Cole because he's been great.
Even Kershaw's been pretty good, 10-4, and
Kershaw's been great. He's hurt.
2.55 ERA, but yeah.
Most surprising team in the National League, the Marlins. I think I had them being decent, competing for a wild card spot, but I didn't think they'd be 14 games over. Most disappointing team in the National League, Cardinals, 14 games under 500. Padres, Mets could also be on.
I was going to say Mets, which I love, but you could,
Yeah. American League most surprising, I would say. You can say Baltimore. I think people thought they'd be pretty good, but in that division, you thought they'd finish 4th or 5th, but they're 19 games over 500. So they've been a very pleasant surprise. Most disappointing, I think I had the White Sox winning the Central because that division's terrible, and they've been terrible in it. So it's probably the White Sox. Mariners have been fairly disappointing. They're only a game under 500, 6 games out, but people thought they'd be better. So
you actually had the Twins. You had the Twins winning the Central, but you had the White Sox making the playoffs.
Okay. Before we move on, the MLB draft is taking place. It's now over for the rounds 3 through 10 today, and they'll do 11 through 20 tomorrow. But Paul Skeens, number 1 overall pick to the Pittsburgh Pirates, generational type talent, as hyped as I would say Steven Strasburg, Mark Pryor sort of deal. So that's going to be fun having him in the Central. And then his teammates, Dylan Cruz went 2nd. So they're the first pair of teammates to go 1 and 2 ever. As far as the Cubs, they took Big Ten Player of the Year, Matt Shaw, in the first round. He's a shortstop out of Maryland. Batted ball data is fantastic. They think he'll move through the system really quick. So I'm very happy with that pick. Of course, he won't know for 2 or 3 years. But last year, Cubs barely took any hitters. This year, they've taken, through the first 10 rounds, they've taken 5 college bats, 2 high school bats, and only 3 pitchers so far. They're all college pitchers. So I love the MLB draft. And honestly, I watched it on ESPN, and the ESPN coverage of the MLB draft was so much better than the NBA draft because you didn't have to worry about those stupid interviews with parents. They actually talked about baseball, which I was very happy for. And they did not do that with basketball.
Yes, sir. Good stuff. A lot of good MLB talk.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, you ready to go ahead and talk about the breaking news that came across the pod?
Yeah. Patty Fitzgerald. Oh, man, I need to go to bed. Pat Fitzpatrick. Is that his name?
Fitzgerald.
I really need to go to bed. Holy crap. I was thinking Ryan Fitzpatrick. I was thinking Pat Fitzgerald. Oh,
yeah, you had it right with Patty Fitzgerald.
I had it.
Yes.
This guy went from like a guy with a lifetime contract, never going to end, and then within 2 days, all comes crashing down on him.
It's amazing when this stuff kind of happens. A lot of times smoke leads to fire, and that's what kind of happened here. For those of you listening or watching that don't know what's been going on, there was a lot of hazing allegations that came out, some racism
bad stuff too.
Allegations that came out. Some players came to defense of Fitzgerald, others not so much. University kind of poo-pooed it at first, gave him a 2-week suspension. Got to look into it more. More and more came out. It got to the point leading up to today's show where we were even talking. It's probably just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, have to credit the school paper there because it was 2 journalists, and a lot of times you're scared to go after the football program, but they went after it and they dug up some pretty terrible stuff that has happened over the past 10, 15 years. And they broke it, and so credit to them because that's a scary proposition going up against your moneymaker.
Well, they shouldn't have underestimated their school of journalism because it's one of the best, if not the best in the country, up there with Syracuse. So
it is funny though, to see all these Northwestern grads that are buddies with Pat Fitzgerald. They would go scorched earth on anyone else, but with this one, they're like, oh, hold on here.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of funny watching them kind of backtrack a little bit.
But Fitzgerald's a legend within the school. Back to his playing days, a great linebacker, Northwestern, never made the pros, so he's one of those guys that was All-American, great collegiate player. Just didn't make the pros, but he was part of the Rose Bowl team in the '90s. And then really, Randy Walker unfortunately passed away, and Fitzgerald took over and did some things nobody had done in that program. He got him to a Big Ten championship game. Now that was the 2020 shortened COVID season, but he got him to the Big Ten championship game. Many different New Year's bowls, won 9 games, a couple times, maybe 10 games. I mean, they became a respectable program again. But the last 4 years have been pretty rough. Since 2020, 21, 22. So last 2 years, I think 19 was also rough for him. So 3 of the last 4 years pretty rough for Northwestern. I wonder if that made this decision any easier on administration, thinking, well, now with this scandal, now we have a reason to fire him. Whereas if we were going to fire him, it would have been more difficult just to fire him for poor performance on the field, because I know in our friend group, even before this all came out, it's like, is he ever going to get on the hot seat? Because any other coach in the Big Ten, if they were doing this, would be on the hot seat. So, but now, I mean, it's July 10th. Camp's going to be opening up first week of August. Do they have time to find a full-time replacement, or are they just going to have to go interim route for the 2023 season?
Yeah, you got to go interim. I actually have my Birdie Bogey, my word association ready for next week already. It is coaches that have been fired or resigned in disgrace. So it was kind of a fun list to go through. But it's too close to camp. You got to go the interim route. It reminds me a little bit of Tim Beckman with the hazing rumors, that sort of stuff, abuse. He was fired. I think he was fired a week before the season started, though.
Kevin Wilson in Indiana.
Yeah, luckily Illinois had a former Western Michigan head coach on staff that he can kind of take over. I don't know who Northwestern has, but I'm sure coaches from other schools are after their players, back channeling everything they can do to try to get these guys to transfer. And I would not be surprised, especially with USC, UCLA entering the Big Ten, the world of the NIL and the transfer portal. I would not be surprised if Northwestern goes into complete anonymity like they used to be. And be one or two. I hope I pronounced it right. I've been practicing all day. Now I've lost my train of thought. So I was so proud of myself for using a big word. They go back to winning 2-3 games a year like they used to.
I'm looking at their coaching staff. I don't recognize, and I don't know why I thought I might. I don't recognize any of their assistants. So I couldn't tell you if they have any coaching experience, head coaching experience or not.
Our friend Evan Webb put out a funny thing with Lovie Smith. He is unemployed. He obviously is well known in Chicago. Terrible at Illinois, but at least for a 1-year sort of deal, maybe he can keep them together. But I doubt he'd want to go back to college route because he hated the college route so much. But again, Chicago sort of deal. I've seen things make less sense than that before.
Friend of the podcast, Aaron Lynch, texted me earlier today, asked me if I thought Fitzgerald was going to get fired. And I said, yeah, everything's not helping them. Everything more and more that's coming has been coming out is definitely not helping his case. And he said, do you think Jim Leonard could be a candidate? Because Leonard is not employed anywhere right now. Maybe. I mean, he does know the Big Ten landscape, but I don't know if that fit would make sense. I don't know what Northwestern's going to be looking for.
I mean, the guy who comes in is going to be taking over a dumpster fire of a program, because I imagine a lot of these guys are going to leave.
Right.
You're going to have to start over. It's not as bad as the Penn State Joe Pa situation, but in a sense, as far in they're not going to get the death penalty or any sort of that, get scholarships taken away. I can't imagine. But it's going to be fairly similar as far as just you're going to have to rebuild and do it fairly quickly, which is going to be tough at Northwestern. This helps Illinois out a lot recruiting wise, because Northwestern was not letting a lot of guys out of their area in the Chicagoland or in the suburbs, and slowly but surely, Bielema's kind of infiltrated the suburbs a little bit. And now hopefully he can just get them down on lock. But going back to the Northwestern thing, quite the fall from grace. As we said, this guy had like a lifetime sort of contract there, could do anything without getting fired, and he messed around and found out it could happen.
I'm trying to see if I can find a Fitzgerald coaching tree or anything here, a former ex Northwestern players who are coaches. I'm trying to look up, see if I can find anything. But
isn't Mike Kafka like a really good head coaching candidate in the NFL?
That sounds correct.
He is the offensive coordinator for the Giants. I know he's a pretty good or pretty hot candidate as far as head coaching goes in the NFL. So maybe he's the guy they reach out to. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that one. That's a good one. Yeah, because I'm struggling. They're the one Big Ten team I can't even think of many good players they've had that have played at the NFL level. I mean, Trevor Simeon's still hanging around. He's a backup somewhere. Not the Vikings. Who signed him? Somebody signed him. I remember who was. Somebody signed him to one. Bengals? Bengals signed him.
Really?
Joe Burrow's backup. Yes. Yes. Cincinnati Bengals signed him. Yeah, but it'll be interesting. I mean, it's kind of the first bit of college football talk we've had in a while. And starting here in 2 weeks, not next week, but the week after that, we're gonna break up our college football preview show a little bit this year, not do so much over the landscape of college football the week of the opening game. We're gonna break down by conferences heading up to that week, and then do Big Ten the week of that would be the last Monday of August. So starting in 2 weeks.
We pretty much only talked about Big Ten for like 55 minutes and then kind of scrambled.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So
it'll be kind of nice to preview some of the other conferences. I'm going to have to do some research. I don't know much.
I think we're going to talk. I think the schedule I proposed to you was Big 12. I think will be the first one. Big 12 on. We're going to go Big 12 on July 24th and Pac 12 on the 31st. Skip a week, and then we'll pick up with the ACC on the 14th, SEC 21st, Big Ten 28th. And we'll throw Notre Dame in there with the ACC, too, because they might as well be a member of the ACC.
They are, pretty much.
Something we haven't done before, but thought it would break it up a little bit and help us give us some new topics to talk about, too, a little bit, because we're kind of in the dead period right now.
Yep.
Besides baseball. Besides baseball, which I guess golf next week is the Open, or the British Open is next week. So we'll have that to talk about a little bit next week. But any other thoughts about Fitzgerald or Northwestern?
Patrick, you mean? It's Patrick now.
You had Matthew Fitzpatrick on the brain. It's okay. And you had Ryan Fitzpatrick on the brain. You could either one. Probably more Ryan. Matthew's a golfer. Probably more Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I've heard that name before. It's definitely Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah, but because it sounds like Northwestern's baseball coach could be getting in trouble here soon too with some allegations, and not a good few last days for Northwestern athletics.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Which I know makes you chuckle. So
yeah. I'm just hoping the basketball team's next. Actually, I'm not rooting for any scandals.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah. It's it'll be interesting to learn more about this as the next week progresses and see what direction Northwestern decides they're going to ultimately go with this, because it's never good timing for any of this to happen, but especially less than a month before your season begins.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it always happens at the worst time, too.
It's true.
It never happens in the middle of January or middle of March or when nothing's happening, but yeah.
And I think it's pretty safe to say he will not get another head coaching job. And like you said, what a fall for grace, because at one time he was always rumored to be like the next USC coach.
Or Chicago Bears. I've heard his name.
Or
for the
Chicago Bears, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got a few minutes left here. I want to go back to the All-Star game real quick, just to knock that out. Maybe we can do that segment you texted me about earlier next week, where we have more time to talk about it. But here's the lack of star power that we have in baseball now, which is concerning. I mean, they have guys, and some of this has to do with Mike Trout being hurt, Aaron Judge being hurt. That would make the American League lineup look a little better. But Marcus Semien leading off tomorrow night, great second baseman. He's just not a name that people are like, oh man, Marcus Semien. Shohei Ohtani, obviously superstar. Randy Arozarena, great. Corey Seager, great. Yandy Diaz, first base, good player for Tampa Bay. The average fan doesn't really know him. Same with Adolis Garcia, who's in the home run derby tonight. He's starting in center. Austin Hayes, left fielder for the Baltimore Orioles. People don't really know him. Josh Young, third baseman, Texas Rangers. Jonah Heim, catcher, Texas Rangers. A lot of that has to do with fan voting, too. And the teams that are good usually get the players voted in. So that kind of happens. Do you remember that one year where, like, the Kansas City Royals had, like, 7 starters?
Yes.
Something like that.
Wasn't that the year Kansas City hosted?
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Well, and I remember 2016 when the Cubs were great. They had like 9 All-Stars and 5 starters, something like that. So the National League has a little more star power. You have Ronald Acuna Jr. in center, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, J.D. Martinez, Nolan Arenado, Luis Arai, Sean Murphy, rookie Corbin Carroll, Orlando Arcia starting at short, which is because the Braves are good and their fans voted him in. But I like the National League to win. I just think they're a little better this year, especially with Trout and Judge being out, but a little deeper.
I'll take the American League to differ from you.
In the National League Central, every team in baseball gets one player, but the Reds, Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates only got one player, and the Cubs got 3 players in: Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele, and Dansby Swanson. Swanson's on the injured list, so he's not going to play. Stroman said he's not going to pitch at all because he was pitching the World Baseball Classic, so he's like, I need a break, and hopefully you see Justin Steele for an inning because he's been fantastic. But give me the National League. They haven't won too many, I don't think, unless they won last year. Remember that stretch where they like lost 15 in a row, something like that.
It was like the East for the NBA for the longest time.
Yeah, the East was always really good.
Back when they did that and didn't have team captains in a draft and all that stupid stuff.
That's why I don't even watch it anymore.
Jokic was the last player picked this year. Was it this year or last year in that stupid thing?
Yeah. The American League, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Then they tied 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They did not lose 11 in a row. Then the National League won 3 in a row. And the American League has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row. So,
wow. I didn't realize that.
National League is due.
Yeah, they are.
For sure. Do you want to hear my bird bogey here real quick?
Yes, I do, please.
Wrap her up. Anthony Edwards signed this massive deal, 5-year, could be worth up to $260 million. He has scored over 4,800 points, which is the 4th most by a player before turning 22 years old in NBA history. Can you name the 3 others to have scored more? 2 gets you a birdie, or not a birdie, a par. Sorry.
Well, I got to think of guys who came in the league at 18 years old, or 18 or 19. Let's go LeBron James.
Correct.
Let's go Carmelo Anthony.
Correct.
So I'm at a par.
Yep, I didn't think you'd get Carmelo.
Yeah, I missed him on something not too long ago, and I got 2 guys in mind here. I don't know how old this guy was when he got in the league, so I'm gonna go with the other one. Kobe Bryant.
Incorrect.
Is Kevin Garnett?
No, Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I never remember him. And another one I was thinking was Iverson, but I couldn't remember how old he was when he got in the league from Georgetown. So I never think about Kevin Durant. I don't know why. And he's an ultimate scorer, and I just don't think about him.
That was a valiant effort, though.
I'll take a par. Well, I feel good being tied. Being tied.
Thanks for watching. Tan and J-Man Show live on ISC Sports Network. We'll be back at it next Monday with another episode. Have a fantastic week, everybody.